You cannot be a bass fisherman if you do not know how to throw a swim jig. It's just too versatile. It works everywhere in the country on all different types of lakes. It dominates grass lakes, it dominates river fisheries, and all species of bass bite a swim jig, and they bite it good. I mean, most fish are going to like a swim jig year round. So if you're not catching them on this bait or that bait, a swim jig is one of the best alternatives, and you can cover water with it. You can catch big fish. So it checks all the boxes. But for that reason, I try to keep this technique as simple as possible. I don't want to have 20 different versions of trailers in my boats for my swim jigs. I don't want to have a bunch of different sizes. I try to minimize how much tackle I'm bringing when it comes to a swim jig because it's pretty cut and dry. They're either biting it or they're not. And I have two ways to fish it. And if they're not biting it those two ways, we will move on and throw something else. So, simplified approach to swim jig fishing, I believe you need two trailers. One is going to be one of these small grass swim baits. This is a big bite cane thumper. And then a craw style. This is a Strike King Rage Craw. Now, let's start with the Rage Craw, because the first time I saw this, I was like, that's the dumbest looking thing. That doesn't look real. Why is this a swim jig trailer? This looks like something you would flip or something you would put on the back of a jig that you're casting, but never on a bait that you're swimming. But here's the deal with this. This appendages, these claws, these legs, whatever you want to call them, can keep that bait floating in the water column. So there's a lot of different scenarios where you want your swim jig to be moving slow, but just staying right in the fish's face. So the first thing that comes to mind would be like if you're in really dirty water, maybe you're fishing this bait around some type of grass, you want it moving slow and you just want it pulsing right in the fish's face. They have trouble finding the bait, you want to be swimming it around the fish over and over and over. And this is the type of trailer that will just keep it there. Another way would be if you are skipping this bait and swimming it around docks. You make a really good cast to get it underneath the dock. You don't just want to burn it right out of there. You want it to stay under that dock. You are in a massive strike zone, but you're targeting a fish that sees a lot of baits. You want to keep it in front of the fish's face to get them to react. This is not a bait that I'm going to throw when the water's real cold. I don't typically start throwing this style trailer on a swim jig till the water gets in the high 50s, and then I'm keeping it on my rod up until those fish leave the shallows and head out deep for their summer pattern. So this is a player for most of the spring, but I wait for that water to warm up. The other style is a swim bait, a small solid body swim bait. This big bite cane thumper has been the best one I've found because it's a little bit lighter plastic, so I don't have to worry about that bait flying off the end of my hook. With some of the heavier plastic, there's less pull when you go to make a long cast. I like this bait. It's got the ribs. It just seems like it's not totally full of plastic. There's some little ridges and holes in it, and the tail is a little bit thicker right here. So you don't have as much wobbly side-to-side action. It just seems like it runs really compact. They come in a lot of good colors. Not a sponsor of mine, just a bait that I feel like has been better than all the other small swim bait trailers when it comes to swim jig fishing. Now, this style trailer is one you're going to have to reel quicker. You're not going to be keeping it in the fish's face as long. This is more of a natural, clear water type presentation, and I'm going to be throwing this in all the same places that I would throw a lipless crankbait or a spinnerbait or a chatterbait. It's just different than all those other baits, but it's fished in the same types of scenarios. So any place that you would throw a square bill or any of those good moving baits, this is a more subtle, more natural looking approach, and it's just different. You can't explain why they bite this sometimes and won't bite a chatterbait, but it's just a different approach. And if you want to be a good fisherman when it comes to, if it's shallow or deep, doesn't matter, this type of retrieve and bait is something that will get bites on days when those other baits are not. So swim jig fishing is all about simplicity. You need to keep it in your arsenal, but you don't need to get too carried away. It's one of those baits where they bite it on days when they want to bite it, and they don't when they don't, and you don't have to go through 100 different variations to figure that out. So good luck to you guys. I'll see you on the water. Thanks for watching.